my talk, I would like to share a short video clip with you. Please watch it carefully. Is the biggest supermarket chain in Germany, and as you can see, it is entirely empty. What in the world has happened here? If you want to know the secret of this supermarket, follow me. Last year was a hard time for Europe. It suffered from international conflicts such as Brexit, the refugee crisis, and terrorism. I was there, in Germany, in the middle of that whirlpool, as a foreigner. How do you think I felt there? Scared? Intimidated? Miserable from discrimination? Wrong. The words I would rather choose to describe my life in Germany would be these: wonderful, pleasant, and even at home. I would like to share my experiences I had in Germany as a foreigner. It was a dark night on March 1st when my family first set foot in Berlin. We had to go to the rental center at the airport, but we didn't know which way to go. So we asked a police officer passing by. To our surprise, he snatched one of our carts full of luggage and told us to follow him. It was quite a long way, and we chatted and laughed all the way long. We finally arrived at the elevator directly connected to the rental center. We said we could go on our own from there, but he insisted getting in the elevator with us. Only after dropping off this Asian family inside the rental center did he say goodbye. That was my first experience of warm welcome in Germany. After 4 months of learning German, I entered a German high school, Gymnasium, as an exchange student. My German was not so good, fully enough to understand the German classes. Yet, I was delighted every morning waiting for school, thanks to the care of German friends and teachers. When we were chatting in German, my friends asked, "Shall we speak English?" Chatting in English, when they asked me, "Shall we do it in German? We can help you practice." Either way was customized for me. In class, they kept asking me if I understood the teacher and translated things to English. The teachers deliberately gave me many chances to talk in class. They said they would like to hear experiences and thoughts from a different cultural background. I was so grateful for their care and warm heart. The next moment, I became curious. Why are they doing all this to me? After all, I'm no more than a foreigner to them. Maybe they were just helping a poor foreigner. Well, it was not long before I could understand their true heart. When I was in Germany, the whole country was overwhelming with refugees. The refugee centers were helping them settle down in Germany. I wanted to lend a hand too. Among the available projects, I chose distributing donated clothes. The refugees who came to get the clothes were mostly mothers of young kids. They took far more clothing for their children than for themselves, and begged for just one more item for kids, even though they were already over limit. On the streets, I had passed by people who seemed to be refugees, but never this close before. At first, I thought they were poor, deprived, and therefore needed help. That was why I began starting the refugee center volunteer work. And I thought that the German volunteer workers also thought what I was thinking. But as I continued the volunteer work, I saw how they were treating the refugees, and I realized that I was wrong. The Germans were treating the refugees not as foreigners or others. They were accepting them as one of their members. Of course, they were not German, and as a result, the German society and culture could have changed. And there were people, there were voices, though minor, that called them a contamination and called for their banishment. Germany could have cast them out too. Germany could have called them criminals and terrorists. They could have banished them as much of the world has done. But instead, they decided to embrace them all. It was not that they needed help because they were poor. It was a step for them to live as a member of the German society. In spite of all the changes the refugees brought to Germany, there they were, treating the refugees as humans, the same as themselves. Seeing those Germans with the refugees, I finally understood why the policemen and friends and teachers and everyone I met were so kind to me. It was nothing like charity. They were not looking at me as a foreigner. I was simply another member of their society. They were treating me not as a foreigner. I was being treated just as another German would have been. You all remember the sea of candlelight that filled Gwanghwamun Square last December. Across the world as well, the Koreans gathered to demand their president's resignation. Germany was no exception. I, too, wore a mask with a chicken head on it and held a placard reading, "President Park out." But among the Koreans gathered before the Brandenburg Gate, I saw Germans and other foreigners joining our demonstration. Why would they? They had absolutely no reason to join us. They were not getting a prize, or money, or anything. But now I know that it was purely out of global citizenship. They were struggling together to make a more democratic society. Seeing them, one question developed inside me. If we saw people from another nation protesting against their own dictatorship in front of the Gwanghwamun Square, would we have done the same as the Germans? Or would we have shouted, "It's your business, deal with your problem in your country"? Now let's go back to that supermarket. I hope you didn't forget it.
Ja nicht da, was wir sonst essen.
Viel weniger Vielfalt.
Aha.
Kaffee nicht, kein Tee, keine Schokolade.
Oh, keine Schokolade.
Nein.
Bier haben wir noch einiges da. Gibt es ja in Deutschland zum Glück viel.
Es gibt ja einmal die Vielfalt, die wir jetzt hier erleben, also die man konsumiert, aber es gibt ja auch die Vielfalt unter Menschen.
Das ist doch Unsinn. Wir sind doch ein offenes Land und erst recht nicht jetzt German First.
Die Welt ist so bunt, wie wir verschieden sind. Und das ist schön.
Keine gute Idee, sagen Sie.
This is a German supermarket chain, EDK, from August 21st. They withdrew every product made abroad and only displayed items made entirely in Germany. Instead, they put these signs reading, "The rat looks like this without diversity. We would have been more deprived without diversity." It was quite refreshing to see this inspiring performance expressing that we are all connected and that if we try to cut that connection off, it would merely result in isolation of ourselves. In fact, the xenophobic atmosphere in Germany is considerably lower than those of other European countries. Nonetheless, they take caution against the smallest symptom. This campaign was led by a single supermarket chain, not even a national project. It was a great chance to see their sense of citizenship. Now I would like to share my most memorable experience, my last experience in Germany. It is the International Youth Summit from iYouth, an international youth NGO. That's me. Oh, that's me again. Under the theme of One World, One Home, the camp covered topics such as recent social problems, gender equality, sustainability, and diversity. We had workshops, discussions, presentations, and a symposium pondering upon what we could do as youths to make a better world. The final message we all agreed to was this: we, as youth, should lead in having a sense of equality and keep taking actions, however small they might be. I was struck by their active and serious attitudes. They were so eager in discussing the social issues, diversity, and equality. They were passionate in looking for small plans for themselves to change the world. But the thing is, no one had ever told them to. They could have just kept living as Europeans, the rich and the strong, ignoring all the social weak around the world. But they chose to live as a global citizen. They considered the problems around the globe as their own, feeling responsibility for themselves to take actions for them. Today, there are people whom we feel are not one of us in our society. Let us think about how we look at them. What comes to your mind when you hear the word multiculturalism? For most Koreans, it might probably be the multicultural family issues or foreign labor issues. But the true meaning of multiculturalism is not so narrow. There's more to it. The ability to embrace all the other cultures as they are, and to realize that they are part of us. They are part of our community. Multiculturalism without this kind of awareness cannot help but end up a distorted charity from the advantaged to the disadvantaged. Not many of you might have had experiences of globalization or multiculturalism as high school students. But Korea is no longer a nation of a single race. As we can see from the case of the German supermarket EDK, we can no longer live ignoring our relation to the world. As soon as we become university students, the opportunities to become a foreigner will become greatly increased, such as going on a trip abroad or becoming exchange students. As we can all become foreigners at any time, let us think about how we should look at the foreigners around us. Do not call them them. Remember that we too can always become them. Change your perceptions and you'll notice many small actions available waiting for you to change the world. I hope that Korea can actively join in making a one world, one home through international solidarity and respect for multiculturalism. We are all foreigners. Thank you.